The wind screamed across the barren plains as dusk swallowed the horizon, and the fading sun cast long, trembling shadows over the dusty trail leading to the abandoned Barnett Ranch. Outlaws had taken control of the distant town of Copper Ridge, and folks whispered that danger rode freely after dark. But none of that stopped Colt Hargrove, a rancher known for his quiet strength, sharp instincts, and a heart that rested somewhere between justice and mercy. That evening, as he rode past the edge of the old property, his horse suddenly snorted and halted, ears pricking toward the enormous red barn standing like a dying giant. Something was wrong. Colt scanned the area, silence pressed thickly around him. Then, cutting through the stillness, he heard it, a terrified, trembling voice echoing from inside the barn. "Please don't." It wasn't the kind of plea you ignored, and Colt's pulse kicked hard against his ribs. He jumped off his horse, boots hitting the dirt, and with one hand on his holster, he pushed the barn door open just enough to peer inside. What he saw made him freeze in horror. 3 bandits, members of the notorious Black Spurs, had a woman cornered against a wooden stall, her hair tangled, her dress torn, her trembling hands raised as if begging for her life. Colt recognized her instantly. She was the teacher from Copper Ridge, the same woman who had come into town 2 months ago to bring hope to children who had never seen anything but hardship. Her name wasn't known to him, but her courage had been. And now, seeing her trapped, terrified, and surrounded, something primal ignited inside him. The leader of the gang leaned in toward her, grinning with rotten teeth, and growled, "No one will hear you out here." But his words were cut short by the metallic click of Colt's revolver as the rancher stepped fully into the barn, voice cold as winter steel. "I heard her." The outlaws spun around in shock. The woman gasped, her eyes widening with both desperation and hope. For a split second, no one breathed. Then chaos exploded. The leader snatched his pistol, firing wildly. The bullet grazed Colt's arm, but the rancher didn't flinch. With swift precision, he shot the pistol clean out of the outlaw's hand. The other 2 lunged forward, but Colt ducked behind a beam, rolled across the hay, and fired again, knocking one into the stalls. The 3rd bandit tried to grab the woman as a shield, his trembling hand gripping her wrist, but Colt's voice boomed through the barn, "Let her go, or you won't walk out of here." The bandit hesitated just long enough for the woman to stomp his boot and wrench free. Colt seized the moment, firing a warning shot that sent the outlaw scrambling outside and into the dark. The leader, nursing his injured hand, sneered and spat blood before jumping onto his horse and fleeing with the others. Silence returned, broken only by the woman's strained breathing. She stood trembling, trying to hold herself together, but the fear she had endured had carved deep lines in her expression. Colt holstered his revolver and stepped toward her slowly, not wanting to startle her further. "It's over," he said gently. "You're safe now." But the moment his voice softened, her knees buckled. Colt rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Her hands clung desperately to his shirt, and tears welled in her eyes, tears not just of fear, but of release, of gratitude, of survival. I thought they were going to," her voice cracked. Colt didn't let her finish. "I know," he murmured. "But I got you." He lifted her carefully and carried her outside into the cool night air. She buried her face against his chest, breathing shakily as though every breath fought its way back into her lungs. Colt's chest tightened. No one deserved to be hunted like that, especially someone who had dedicated her life to teaching other people's children. When he reached his horse, he wrapped his coat around her shoulders, securing it gently. She whispered, "Why did you come? Why would you risk your life for someone you barely know?" Colt paused, his voice quiet but firm. "Because fear only wins when good people stand back and watch. And I don't plan on watching." As they rode toward Copper Ridge, her grip tightened around him, not out of fear now, but trust. The moon lit their path, and for the first time in a long time, Colt felt something warm fill the hollow spaces of his heart. When they reached town, lanterns flickered as the sheriff and townsfolk rushed out, shocked to see the teacher alive, and shocked to see the state she was in. Colt explained what happened, but the sheriff, a man who once knew courage but had lost it to age, lowered his eyes in guilt. "I should have protected her," he muttered. Colt shook his head. "Then protect her now. Protect everyone. This town can't keep bowing to the Black Spurs." His words stirred the crowd. Men who had accepted fear as a daily meal straightened their backs. Women who had cried quietly behind shuttered windows gathered their children close, resolve rising like the dawn. The teacher looked around at the crowd, then up at Colt with a faint, trembling smile. "You saved me," she whispered. Colt met her gaze, feeling something shift inside him, something he hadn't expected. "Maybe. But now you save them," he said, motioning toward the children who adored her. She nodded, wiping her tears, standing taller than before. Trauma had cracked her, yes, but strength was pouring through those cracks like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Before heading back to his ranch, Colt turned to the crowd. "Fear doesn't leave on its own. We have to ride it out together. We have to fight for the life we want." His words echoed, carrying into the night. The woman stepped forward, taking his hand for just a moment. "Thank you," she whispered. "For seeing me. For hearing me." Colt tipped his hat. A cry for help echoes farther than you think. As Colt rode away, he didn't look back. But the woman watched him until he disappeared into the horizon, her heart full of gratitude and a new sense of courage. That night, Copper Ridge changed forever, not because a rancher fought 3 outlaws, but because a single voice crying "Please don't," had awakened something powerful in the heart of a man who the morning sun washed Copper Ridge in gold, but the night's terror still clung to the air like smoke after a gunfight. Colt Hargrove barely slept. The teacher's trembling voice, "Please don't," kept echoing in his mind, pulling at him stronger than a lasso around a wild Mustang. He saddled up before dawn, intending to check the Black Spurs trail, but halfway down the ridge he noticed something strange, fresh hoofprints circling back toward town, and beside them, smaller footprints, a woman's. His heart lurched. He followed the trail fast, and when he reached the old water tower, he dismounted, hand on his revolver. There she was, standing alone, arms wrapped around herself, staring out across the plains with eyes that looked both fearful and determined. "You shouldn't be out here," Colt said gently, approaching her. She turned sharply, relief softening her face. "I couldn't stay in town," she whispered. "Not after what happened. I needed air, and I needed to see if you were still alive." Colt froze. Her voice wasn't full of fear now, it held something deeper, something that tugged at him in a way he hadn't felt in years. Before he could respond, a gunshot cracked through the morning. Colt grabbed her waist and pulled her down behind a crate as dust kicked up beside them. 3 Black Spurs rode in from the north, furious and reckless. "They came back for me," she breathed. Colt shook his head. "No. They came back because they don't understand fear the way brave people do." With fierce precision, Colt fired from cover, striking the lead outlaws head clean off. Another shot forced them behind rocks. The woman's hands trembled, but she didn't cry this time. Instead, she gripped Colt's arm. "What do we do?" He met her gaze, steady and unshaken. "We end this." Together they dashed toward the tower base. Colt fired while she threw rocks to distract the riders. One outlaw charged, but Colt tackled him to the ground and knocked him unconscious. The remaining 2 fled, but not before Colt shouted after them, "Tell your boss, Copper Ridge isn't afraid anymore." The teacher looked at him, chest rising with shaky breaths. "You saved me again," Colt wiped dust from her cheek. "No. This time, you fought with me." And as the rising sun painted the sky with fiery colors, something unspoken passed between them, strength, trust, and the beginning of a bond forged in fear but growing in courage.